I was reading a recent report from Stifel earlier this week, and one of their analysts, Barry Bannister, says Bitcoin could plummet 76% from current levels to $10,000 by 2023. And he highlighted global money supply, the 10-year US Treasury yield, and the planned tightening by the Federal Reserve as just some of the obstacles that could be in Bitcoin's way. So my first question to you is, are you sticking to a $20,000 call for Bitcoin, or have you become a little bit more bullish or bearish?
So for me, it's 20,000 is my high end target for sure. I do think it can go a little bit lower. I agree with Stifel in terms of, if you look at past corrections or bear markets in Bitcoin, it's an 80% drop. And if you take the 69,000 high and take away 80%, you're basically at 10,000. So I understand where they're coming from in terms of that. And I agree that, we're in an unprecedented period that we haven't seen for 20, 30, 40 years, where inflation is now an issue and the governments around the globe are going to have to start taking away money from the system instead of pumping it in. And that's going to have an impact. I mean, I've looked at some of these stocks out there like Roblox and Roku. I mean, Roku's down from $500 a share to like $100 a share. I mean, that's a massive decline. And Bitcoin kind of is a risk on asset. So it's treated like a tech stock. So very likely you will see further downside. I'll start nibbling on a longer term entry for Bitcoin when it gets to 20, and then I'll just kind of keep buying all the way down.
You don't see 100,000 this year, which is what a lot of people are hoping for.
No, I mean, last year it was going to be 100,000. This year now they're trying to scrape it out and just throw it out there. I just don't see it. I mean, unless for some reason something happens where monetary supply all of a sudden starts to increase. That's the bull case for Bitcoin, the bull case for tech stocks. And at this point, all we see is worse headline inflation numbers, right? So, I mean, if all of a sudden inflation went back to 2%, and we got into a recession, then I think that is a possibility, but I just do not see it, not with PPI numbers coming out recently near 10%. And just looking at the chart, Bitcoin's behaving very much like a chart should. All right. So you had this beautiful parallel trend line, this white line down here, matching perfectly with this one up here. Price came down to it. You got the technical bounce. And then look at this kind of head and shoulder pattern right here. You went right back to that neckline before starting to roll over again. So on a technical basis, there's 2 points I'm watching on the chart in the near term. This one right here, this orange one, if we break above it, you have potential for upside to 50 to 52,000, the midpoint. If you break below the white line, that's where you start heading down into the 20,000 range. At first you'll have support at this low over here around 28,000, 29,000, but very quickly, I do think you could get down to the previous all-time high back in 2017, which is right around that 20,000 level. So, I mean, it's one of those things where if you're an investor in Bitcoin, you have to take a longer term view if you're going to stick with it, because certainly what's going on in the macro economy, what's going on with inflation is just not bullish for crypto or Bitcoin. Gold to me is the safe play. I know a lot of people want Bitcoin to be that play where you kind of say, okay, Bitcoin will protect us against inflation. It will in 5 or 10 years, I believe, not right now. Bitcoin is a risk asset. It's going to get treated like a risk asset until it gets more investors and calms down. Bitcoin gets sub 20,000. That's where I start to buy as a hedge. And I think it has a hugely upside move in the future. And the way I invest is I always am humble enough, because I've unfortunately learned my lessons in my early career the rough way by losing a ton of money. So what I do is I usually will put out an order at 20,000 or just sub 20,000, and then I'll do another one at 15 and another one at 12 and another one. I don't go all in at one spot, because I've learned my lesson that I've been wrong too many times, and it's better to kind of dollar cost average in.
I know you were saying that a lot of folks you spoke to got in at the 60,000 level. What do you tell those people?
Wow. It's so hard. I understand. I was one of you guys when I first started investing. I was one who was chasing momentum. Lucky for me, back when I started investing, there was no Twitter. Social media was just beginning. So I didn't get the kind of the pumping that you see on social media, which I think is a hugely harmful thing. But what I would say is use it as a learning experience. Remember, the charts give you kind of a non-biased view of what's going on. You never want to chase. I would say at this stage, I don't know if I would cut the investment. Instead, maybe just look to dollar cost average when you get down towards 20, and maybe over the course of time, you can really bring your average in. So let's take a look at Ethereum here. We're going to go to the daily chart. And again, Ethereum, the charts are just telling us so much, right? So you can see this trend line cutting right through. You had this beautiful retrace, little dip, retrace again. And now in the short term, we've broken this little low right here, which is short-term bearish. So I do think Ethereum in the near term probably comes down and tests 2,300, 2,375 right down here. Then the question is, does it hold? And for me, I'll start watching this trend line here, which will be the next area of support. And then if it gets through that, this area here will be major support. Now, if Bitcoin goes to 20 or 10,000, then you have to assume, Ethereum is headed back to probably sub 1,000 when that happens. So again, this is all contingent on Bitcoin kind of dumping out and the cryptos continuing to roll over. But if that does happen, then yeah, you're looking at, probably being able to buy Ethereum at $750 again, which would be, for me, an awesome entry price.
What about what's going on with the miners? Would that have any impact on the price, Gareth, with this crackdown on whether Bitcoin miners are green and that they might shut down those that aren't? Would that impact price down the line?
Yeah, going back to 2017 and 2018, we did see the price of mining Bitcoin. Basically the price of Bitcoin got lower than the cost to mine it. At least that's what I was seeing back then. So in short periods, that can happen. And I think it does happen in this winter, if you will. But I think, again, that the longer term narrative of Bitcoin is only getting stronger. I mean, when you see Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, when you see countries like El Salvador adopting it and other countries starting to adopt it more and more, it's just one more piece in the longer term puzzle for cryptocurrency to survive and thrive. So even though I'm bearish that we're getting into this kind of environment where the Fed is going to crush assets, a lot of these risk assets, the longer term is super positive for things like Bitcoin.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.